Hi, welcome to Conjuguemos. I'm Alejandro Yegros, the creator of Conjuguemos, and this video tutorial is to give you an overview of the site. If you want details, please use the tutorials in the tutorials page of the site. If you're watching this on YouTube or Conjuguemos, I also added timestamps so you can skip around to what matters to you. In this video, I'm going to cover the following points. What's the purpose of the site? What does it do? How to get started, registration, activities, how to create them and assign them, how to receive student work, grades, and finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about quizzes and assignments. Okay, let's get started. So why should you use this site? I'm a teacher, and the reason I made this website was to take the homework and remediation work the students have to do and automate that into a program so I wouldn't have to deal with them. So that's the most common use that teachers give to the site as classwork and homework grades. The site assigns the work for you, the students do the work in the site, and the site grades it for you. As far as content, Conjuguemos offers a pretty wide range of content: vocabulary, grammar, verb, and in Spanish, listening activities. They're all found in the library button at the top. As a matter of fact, many teachers use the site without even creating accounts because you can access these without creating an account. You can just click on library. You can go to any of these activities, and the students can just go there. You can just tell them to go there. And they have access to the flashcards. They have access to the games. They have access to the graded practice. And when they go to the graded practice, they can come here to set the settings on whatever they want to do. They can change the clock. They don't need an account for that. And start the graded practice and practice. So then the question becomes, why do you even need an account? There are three reasons why you might want to register. The first one is if you want students to record their score. As you can see on this screen right here, it says view score. Well, if they were logged in, it would say save score. They would be able to record it. So that's one big difference. If you want them to record their score, those students are going to need to log in to do so. The second reason you might want to have an account is if you're a teacher and you want to have your own activities that match the curriculum as opposed to depending on the library activities. So for example, in this particular present tense, all verbs, maybe you like it, but you want to get rid of some of these verbs. So right now it has all these verbs. Maybe some of them you don't teach in your school. Maybe you want to add some verbs. If you want to do that, you need to have an account to create and edit your own activities. And finally, another big reason why you might want to have an account is because some of the games, which are maybe the second most popular feature of the site, some of these games are multiplayer games. And for multiplayer games, the students need to be able to log in to be able to connect with each other. So those are the reasons why you might want to register. And now we're going to talk about how to register. So how to register. If you want to register and you're an educator, there are three possibilities. One, you want to register as an individual. Two, you want to register your school so that then other teachers can register as teachers within it. Or three, you want to register as a teacher within an existing school. For the first one, you want to go for being an individual teacher who you just want to do it by yourself. You go to sign up. You press educator, and then you're going to press individual teacher account. You don't want to be connected to an institution. Here you see you can get a free plan or a premium plan, and you can press that button and go from there. Now, if you want to register as a school that other teachers are going to join into, you press sign up, you press educator, but instead you press institutional account. And that's going to take you here. You're going to fill out your school information. You might end up finding out that your school has already been registered, in which case you're going to contact me via the contact form to find out who registered. finally, maybe you're a teacher who wants to join an existing school. So if you want to do that, that's different. There, the person who has the school account has to join in and has to log in. Sorry, and the way they do that is by typing their username. So they go like that, and they register into their account. And so this is the school account where I actually work at. And they would press here, add teacher. And now they can add a teacher to the account. They can either create a new teacher or they could invite an existing teacher that is already in the system. So those are the ways to create teacher accounts and school accounts. Now, once the teacher has their teacher account, they can log in, and then the next step would be getting their classes and students set up in the site. So I'm going to log into my own actual teacher account, and if you want to add classes, you go to roster, students. When you're in that page, you just press add class. That's how you add a class. And if you can see on the left-hand side, there are my classes. And if you click on any of them, then you're only going to see the students that are in that class. Now, to add students, you would press add students. And there are 3 ways that you can add them. You can add it in the automated way. The automated way is pretty fast. All you got to do is enter their last names and first names and enter a password that you choose. And when you do that, the site will generate the usernames for you. So when you do that, you'll get those usernames and you will have to give them those usernames so that they can log in. You can also do it manually where you get to choose their username for each one. That's more work, but it allows you more control. And then the fastest way, and probably most convenient, if you use Google Classroom, you can import from Google Classroom. And that way they would be signing in just with their Google Gmail. So as far as once you've created their accounts, the way they log in, if you registered them with their Gmail account, they would click sign in with Google. But if you gave them their own username and password, automated or manual, you have to give that to them, and then they would enter it here, username, password. Finally, you can actually have them register themselves if you don't want to do any of that work. So the way they would do that, they would press sign up, they would press student, and then they would go and fill out this form. Now, the important part of this form is that in the teacher code, you have to give them the teacher code. And so what is the teacher code? You can see the teacher code in your account. So if I go back to my account right here, and I go to my activities page, here's my teacher code right here. You see this button that says code? That's my teacher code. You can click on it and it will expand. So if you give them that code, when they go sign up, that's how they connect to you, because they would enter that code in the student registration form right here. Okay, so that's pretty important. So now that you've created accounts for yourself and for your students, the next step would be, how do you create and assign activities for those students? So now that you have your students registered, the next step is how to make activities and share the activities with them so they can do their work. So how do you make activities? There's a few ways. Probably the easiest one is to just import activities from the library. When you're logged in as a teacher like I am right now, if you go to any activity in the library, I'm going to go to, let's go to conditional tense right here. Let's go to future perfect. Future perfect, all verbs. You're going to see right here this button named Save Activity. When you click on it, it's going to ask you to assign it to a class. So I assign it to honors. You press assign to classes, and then the activity will have been imported into your account. You can see it right up here. So that's probably the easiest way. Just import something from the site. It can be a vocabulary activity as well. And then you can edit it so that it fits your needs. Here you can change the title, you can assign it to a class, and you can edit the content. And when you go to edit the content, you're going to find that you can add or eliminate verbs. So this is the verb list of the activity. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Maybe you say, we don't really teach quitarse, so I eliminate it. But maybe we do teach aburrir, and so I added. And so you can easily edit the activity. You can actually also apply settings for this activity, whether they can see the hints, which pronouns they should practice, if you want to limit those. And so you have you're able to customize the activity to fit your needs by using the edit feature. The other way of creating activities is to make it yourself, so from the ground up. And so you can press add activity. You're going to get these options, language and activity type. And you have here, you can create new. When you click create new, you're going to end up creating the activity on your own. You can also combine activities. So that means that you can take your existing activities and make them into one big one. Or you can import. And what that means, I'm going to show you. What that means is you can search all of the teacher created activities in the site. So that's more than the library. This is one, you can search every one of the 4 million or whatever many activities there are in the site. Now, the advantage of this is that you have access to many more activities than you have in the library. The disadvantage is that these are activities created by all sorts of users, so I can't vouch if they're all good, you know. But you can search by creator. In this drop down, you're going to get the people from your school. So these are the teachers from my school. So this is really good for collaboration. So those are the different ways that you can create activities. So you can import them from the library, you can create them on your own, or you can import them from other teachers in the website. Now we're going to talk about how to assign them. That's so your students can view the activity. Assign them is really easy. All you got to do is click on this assign icon right here, and that's it. You select. You can select one class, or you can select many classes. I'm gonna keep it to one class, tutorial class. I click on assign to classes, and as you can see, once the page refreshes, it changes to tutorial class. Now you may notice it says public on some of them. That's a setting that you can find here in the edit button. You see this checkbox that says make this activity public. If you have this checked, it means the activity is public, which means anybody can access it if they find the link. But if you disable it, it means that for people to access it, they would have to be enrolled in the correct class. So some teachers like to make it just public because they don't want to deal with students not being able to find the activity or something like that. But if you want to have control, you disable it to keep it public. And now, once you have assigned the activity to the students, you want to deliver the activity to the students. Now, these activities are going to show up for the student once they log in. So any student who is in my tutorial class, that student is going to see this listening activity. But there's a variety of ways of sharing activities, and you can find it here by clicking on sharing activity. You can, well, first of all, you can share it with teachers. So you can share this activity with a colleague from your school by just selecting them from there, and that activity will show up on their page. But as far as sharing it with students, you can send an email to your students that will contain a link to that activity. Here's some embed code that you can post in whatever platform you use. There's the link to the activity, which you can copy and paste somewhere. And finally, you can share it via Google Classroom or Canvas if you are using one of those learning platforms. Finally, in this page, I'm going to talk about folders. The only purpose of folders is to organize your workspace. Some teachers have hundreds of activities. I only have 51. Actually, the only reason I have only 51 is because really I've deleted a lot of them, and you can find them here. So if you ever want to archive activities that you don't use anymore, I actually have 497 activities in my archive. And that's when I don't want to use them right now. I just hide them in there. That's what the archive is for. If you ever want to archive an activity, all you do is you click on the activity, you go to bulk actions, and you select delete archive. So I'm actually going to archive this one because I'm not really using it. Folders are for organizing your space. So if I don't want to have 50 activities here when I log in, maybe I want to have some in Honor Spanish folder, Intermediate 1 folder. I can click on Add Folder. And then in order to move the activity to a folder, I would click on it and click on Bulk Actions and select Move. And the last thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to activities is you might really want to visit the settings page one time. There are many, many settings for activities that allow you to have a great deal of control over how students experience the activities. And those are all located right here in the settings page. You click on that drop down, settings. And as you can see, for example, you can control whether the students have access to all the helpers, the references and the hints and the games and all this, whether they can edit the time or not, whether they can skip a word or not. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that setting. This is probably the most important setting as far as activities. This is whether they receive feedback or not. If you disable this, the feedback is going to be blocked. If you enable this, it's going to be, and they're going to be able to see feedback. And please remember when you change the settings that you actually have to press change, save. It's not enough to just start clicking. So that is an overview of your activity and activity settings. Next, we're going to talk about how students record their work and how you view the grades.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about how students record their work and how you view their work. So I'm going to talk about grades. Grades can be found up here in grades. And when you click on grades, you'll see that there's 3 grade books. This is, to be honest, probably the most confusing part of the site. And I'm going to leave these 2 for the other day. If you're a new user or a casual user, this is the only grade book you'll ever need, activity grades, and that's where you're going to find your grades. So I would just worry about that. But the first thing I'm going to show you is how students save their work in the first place. So to do that, I'm going to log out of my teacher account, and I'm going to log into my test student account. And so this student is going to record a grade. I go here, and these are my activities that I've assigned to this class. And so I'm going to go to Intermediate 1. I'm going to go to Present Progressive. And I have a choice as far as recording of doing flashcards. If I do flashcards, that's just going to record the time. Usually people do graded practice. So you can set the time right there if you want by clicking on that. I'm going to leave it as is. You have settings down here where you can select verbs and all that. But I'm going to ignore all that. I'm just going to press start. And you start. And so I'm going to say, oh, I got it wrong. Okay, so I have a 50%, a 1 out of 2. And down here it says save score. So I'm going to click save score. It says all done, but you still have to confirm it. So you have to press here, record score. And so that's how the student records their score. They can then go to my scores, which is up here for the student, and they can see that 1 out of 2 that the student just recorded. So that's how students save their graded practice scores. Now we're going to log in as teacher, and we're going to see that grade in my grade book. So going back to my teacher account, to see the grades, you go here to view grades, activity grades. And the grades, this is the grade book. So as you can see, the grade book, the grade happens to be at the top just because of alphabetical order. This student test account has no name. But if you want to find grades, you want to get used to these filters. So for example, right here, this filter for present progressive, you click on it, and it's going to filter by all of the present progressive grades that you have received. And so that 1 out of 2 is right here, as well as all the other ones. So once you have filtered, you can then export the grades by pressing print grades. That's going to create a comma delimited list. You can also search grades by student last name. You can filter by class right here. You can filter by today. So you can just get all the grades that you've gotten today and then print them. And if you ever want to delete them, to delete grades, you can either use the delete before date, or you can select them and press bulk actions to delete multiple grades. Now, you might want to see details on a certain grade beyond just the score and the time. So to do that, you would click on the grade itself. So for example, if I click on Owen Moon right here, it's going to open up this page, and it shows, well, he actually got the same, his score is the same as the class average. It shows how he did on each word. I mean, he did quite well. And it shows that he was mildly improving as he went along. He was improving 12%. This is what this chart means, whether the student is getting better or they're getting worse. So that is how you view grades, details for a certain student. Now, you might want to see, instead of details of a certain student, how students compared to one another, how all the students did in the activity. So for that, I have a feature called stats. The stats is actually not found in the grade book page. It's found in the back to the My Activities page. So you go to My Activities, and you're going to see the stats icon next to each activity. So I'm going to do a different activity. I'm going to do Intermediate 1 adjectives. I click on the stats. It opens up this pop-up. It tells you the class average, the average number of attempts, how much time they spent, 2 minutes, and when you do that, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. It shows you the trend. It shows you the common errors right here. These are the most common words that they got wrong. And it shows you how the students did relative to each other. So for example, which were the students that most did attempts? So Sophia. Which were the students who most spent time? It would be Montana. Who had the highest grade? Are they getting better or getting worse? So Jeffrey seemed to be basically consistent the whole time, whereas somebody like Montana started out at 84%, ended at 93%. So this is a good place where you can see a report comparing all the students in a particular activity. Finally, as far as grades, I'm going to talk about grade settings. There's really probably only 2 that you need to worry about, and they're up here. You can choose to have grades emailed to you, which right now I'm doing that, and you can set the time zone, because right now you see these are all Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to do either, you click on this, and that's just going to take you to the settings page, which I mentioned previously. And it's going to take you to the place. So here's the default time zone. And if I had clicked on email grades, it would have taken me down here to allow students to send their email grades. So I recommend that sometime you make sure you have the time zone, and whether you want to get grades emailed to you, that you check that one time during the school year. And so that's everything general that has to do with grades. We're going to finish by talking about quizzes and assignments, which are more advanced features. So now I'm going to end by talking about a couple of advanced features of the site, which might be really useful for you. Assignments and quizzes. You can see them here in the activities dropdown, and you can see them here in the grades dropdown. So what are assignments and quizzes? Let's start with assignments. Assignments are something that you do to activities. By the way, if you ever want to see the difference between activities, assignments, and quizzes in a nice little chart, you click on that little one-page chart. But I'm going to explain right now what an assignment is. An assignment is when you take an activity and you give it goals. If you're the type of teacher who's always taking your activities and telling students, oh, I want you to practice for 5 minutes, I want you to do 30 attempts, and I want you to get at least a 90%. If you're always saying that, assignments was designed exactly for that need, for when you want to set specific goals. And so the way you create an assignment, I'm going to create one right now. You press create assignment and you choose one of your activities. And I'm going to choose intermediate one present. And so it tells you that this assignment is going to be based on this activity. I'm going to call this present assignment. And then I'm going to enter the amount of minutes. I want them to do at least 10 minutes. I want them to do at least 150 words. I don't know. I'm going to say they need to get at least an 85%. Set a due date. I'm going to make it due the 27th. And then you can allow late submissions if you want. And you can make the original activity also available. I'd recommend you not do that. Some people like that. But if you do this, that's probably just going to create confusion, because then the student is going to see the activity and the assignment, and they might do the wrong one. So you press create assignment, and there's your present assignment right there. And when you open it, you can see the goals that you set right there. You can see how many people turned it in and how many were assigned that. The assigning, this is for my intermediate one class, which I can always change by pressing assign right there. And if I want to send them, if I want to share with them a direct link, I can click on share and I can copy that link. So that's how you make an assignment and how you view it in your teacher area. Now I'm going to talk about how students interact with the assignment. So I'm going to log out of this teacher screen, and I'm going to log into my test student account. So when the student logs in, they're going to see this sign, your teacher posted new assignments. Go to assignments. These are the currently active ones. The student has 2 assignments that they haven't completed. And so I'm going to do this present one that I just created. I open it up and you can see the goals right there. Attempt 150, score 85, time 10 minutes. I go to assignment and I press start. Start assignment. And as I am working, so tú tomas, lo hago, you can see that the attempts counter is going up. And I want to be able to get to, and my score counter is now 100 because I've been getting them all right. And my time counter is going up. So now I have 5 attempts. I have an 80%. Now I have a 66. Now I have a 57. So I need to be able to meet all 3 of these goals in order to complete this assignment and successfully. So that's a very important thing. You've set the goals. Now, I don't have to do it all in one sitting. If I don't like that I have a 57, I can always restart as a student. And if I want to come back later, I can press save for later. And that means that I can come back at another time and do it. And so, for example, I can go back to my activities assignments, and I'm going to visit that present assignment one. Right here, you can see that it tells me how much progress I've made. Not many on the attempts. I'm not that close to 85, and I'm not that close to 10. It tells me the progress. And then I can always go back and press resume, which is, what it says, a retry, which means a restart. And so that's how the student interacts. And one last thing I will say, as far as actually saving the score, I'm going to say it again, which is actually, I don't want to retry. I want to resume. The score is automatically submitted when they complete the goals, which I won't be able to because these are big goals. But there is no save score button like there is in activities. The minute they accomplish their goals, the grade is submitted automatically. So that's how the student interacts with the assignments. Now I'm going to show you how you view their grades. So I'm going to log back into my teacher account. And to view assignment grades, you go to grades and you go to assignment grades. And you can select a class, intermediate one, and there's those 2 assignments I made. Now, if this student saved a grade for later, that grade will show up here. It's not showing up right now because I haven't quite finished that code. But when the student does record a grade, you will see it appear right here and marked as incomplete. So even when they save for later, the grades will appear probably like 2 days after I make this video. So that is how you see grades. For the assignments, you go to the assignment grades. By the way, you would also be able to see those grades in activity grades if you want, because those are activities, and so they do show up there. Okay, so that's the general overview on assignments. And for more detailed explanation, I really hope you use the tutorial that, in the site, which you can find by going here and clicking on tutorials. But I'm going to end this by talking about quizzes. So quizzes is another feature similar to assignments in that you make them off activities, but there's just a different flavor to it. So I said that assignments is basically an activity with goals. A quiz is an activity, but a quiz. In other words, that you're going to make something with a standardized number of questions. Every student is going to get the same questions and the same number of questions. And so you're able to do a formal assessment. And so when you make a quiz, quizzes look like this, like an actual quiz that you give in school with questions and blanks. There's the prompt, you got to type in your word and you have to go through each one and you get to submit all your answers at once. So a quiz is when you want to take one of your activities and give a formal assessment that has a fixed number of questions and the same questions for all the students, even though they're shuffled. So the way you make them is pretty straightforward. You go to add quiz and it's the same as assignments. You select one of these. You select one of the activities and you make them off. And then the quizzes show up right here and you can assign the quiz just like you do with all the other ones. And then here, this button visible, when you click on visible, now this quiz is invisible for students. So that's important because with quizzes, either the quiz or the activity is visible. It's not one or the other. And so you click on that to make sure that that one or the other is visible, because you don't want them to cheat with the activity since these are meant to be formal assessments. And you can check the stats right here. I don't have any. Or you can see the quiz grade book, which has all the quiz grades right there. So quizzes and assignments are two features for activities that you can just either, whether you're interested in setting goals, assignments, or you're interested in a formal assessment, use quizzes. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to benefit from the timestamps. I'll finish by saying that if you have questions, I really recommend you go to the tutorials, since there's a really nice tutorial there that answers questions in greater detail than I did in this video. Okay, thank you and have a good day.